Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this morning's webinar. Go ahead and kick it off. So today we're going to talk about the top 3 hybrid office hacks that you definitely should know. And my name is Jackson Root. I'll be running the webinar deck this morning. I'll be walking us through the presentation. And with me this morning is John Stearns from Zoom and Scott Kirkerberg, our head of strategic alliances at D10. So pretty solid couple gentlemen here joining us to talk about these top 3 hybrid office hacks. So before we jump in, just a couple of orders of business to talk about. So we've disabled chat. If you have questions, please direct them to the Q&A function. We'll answer quite a few of them as we go through, and others we'll save to the end. We have some time at the end to talk about a few others. If you do have any questions, or if you have any comments you want to make directly to us, you can use the chat function. It'll go directly to us panelists and hosts. So with that, let's talk about a quick disclaimer. So some of the things that we will be going through this morning's webinar are new or they're still in development, essentially forward-looking statements. So take it with a grain of salt, right? Some things may change just a little bit between now and when they actually become live, or some of the things we talked about this morning may be in the midst of being updated. So, you know, all this stuff is changing and evolving so rapidly, right? So nothing is set in stone, as I'm sure you all know. So today's agenda, top 3 hybrid office hacks that you should know. So we're going to talk about the kind of technology to deploy, right? And this is technology that just works. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that's a hybrid office hack. We'll talk about how to boost meeting equity for all team members. We'll talk about how to join any meeting on any platform as well, which is a super cool feature that you definitely should be aware of. We have a bonus hack that we'll reveal at the end. And we'll have a few opportunities for you to get involved as well. So we've got some polls that we're going to launch a little later in this webinar. We want to make sure that this is more of a dialogue with you as well. So with that, Scott, you want to walk us through our relationship between D10 and Zoom?
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining us. The great thing about D10 and Zoom is we've been partners in collaboration since 2017. Our D7 device, which is an all-in-one whiteboard meeting device with your cameras, your microphones, touchscreen. We were first to bring this type of technology to market hand in hand with Zoom. The great thing is we continue to innovate. We continue to optimize our products to deliver the latest Zoom features, and including these purpose-built devices, which we'll touch on a couple times throughout the webinar today. But our solution is optimized for the best Zoom Rooms experience. That comes along with tons of joint development with engineering. We're there to optimize the hardware to deliver those features so you can deploy use cases that work for your organization. And to top it all off, we have industry-leading simplicity and value. We like to say that our products just work. You plug them in. We use things like Wi-Fi and cloud connectivity. We reduce cables in the room, failure points. So everything's optimized to deliver the best experience. And we've been doing that hand in hand for over 5 years now. So when you do choose D10 and Zoom, you really do get industry-leading customer experience across those devices.
Great. So in preparation of this webinar, I found some facts I thought were pretty interesting. So this is from a Gallup poll, a recent Gallup poll from March. So pretty brand new information. And talking about anticipated work location for remote capable jobs. We're looking at pre-pandemic in the left column, what we saw in February of 2022, and then where we're going in the future. And I thought what was really interesting about this is obviously we were all, you know, for those of us that could work remotely, we were pretty much exclusively remote in February. Coming out of the pandemic, hybrid work, more than half of us, 59%, will either be in a hybrid work environment or will prefer one. And I think that's really interesting because you would think that a lot of folks would rather work from home. but there's actually a lot of information coming out that employees really prefer a hybrid work environment. Here's some reasons why. So like me, I'm sure working from home, at least some part of the time, you avoid a lot of that commute time. I have a little bit better work-life balance when I'm at home, but I'm missing some of that ability to work in person with my coworkers. I feel more productive and I feel more connected when I'm actually in the office. So the ability to do that, to work in that hybrid work environment where I can just come into the office a couple days a week, make sure that I can really interact face to face and have a little bit more of that person to person communication is super important. The good news is D10 and Zoom really have a lot of solutions that make that whole situation seamless and very easy to deploy. So we're going to talk about that this morning. And with that, I want to launch our first poll. So the first question that we're going to talk about today is your greatest challenge. So what has been your greatest challenge in preparation for the new hybrid office? So go ahead and launch this poll. And we want to hear from you. So, what are you running into? Is it, you're having trouble training team members? Is it you're having trouble finding the right technical support? Are you having trouble managing multiple meeting platforms, whether it be Zoom, Teams, or Hangouts, or WebEx? Are you running into budgetary problems, or is it something else entirely? We definitely want to hear your input. This is super important, and definitely the topic of this morning's webinar. So interesting, I'm seeing it very, very balanced across the board, right? So, well, it sounds like most of you folks are having trouble managing multiple meeting platforms, right? And that's certainly something that we even deal with the D10 a little bit. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but that's really interesting. So just kind of give you guys the summary. Most are having trouble managing multiple meeting platforms, and then training team members, technical support, and budgetary constraints are all kind of equally complications you guys are running into. So I find that very, very fascinating. So thank you very much for your input. So there's the results. So pretty interesting numbers there. Really quite telling us where we are now in May of 2022 on the other side of the pandemic. Fascinating.
I think the good news is, right, we have some answers and some opportunities to pretty much address all of these concerns, and that's the exciting thing, is we're prepared to tackle each one of these topics and present software and hardware that really make all of these things much easier on an organization.
Yeah, none of these surprise me. I mean, just these are conversations that come up day in and day out, and certainly not any different from what we're seeing for macro trends with where we are in the industry and where people are at with return to office, and all the challenges with preparing for the future of hybrid work and what this all looks like. So definitely in alignment with what we're hearing.
Cool. So we're going to jump into the first, we're calling a meeting hack this morning, and that's choosing the right technology, because the right technology, it just works. It has to just work. And I think that will play into kind of those first two complications that we're just looking at, which is technical support and how to train team members. Because if the technology does its own, if technology does a job for itself, those two complications will sort of resolve on their own.
Exactly. And, I think the technology is key, right? That's the glue that binds all of these experiences together and provides that equity, regardless if you are remote or you're back in the office. It's really the software and the hardware that is going to kind of create that equity across collaboration and across your meetings. So we know what some of the goals are, right? We ask questions on what your challenge is, but we also know, John, by talking to customers day in and day out, what the goals are, right? And I think what this technology is going to do for you is nail these 3 points right here, which is a consistent experience. So regardless of a home device, a meeting room device, regardless of your facility, we can help you create consistent experiences that are familiar, that increase adoption. So more people are using these tools, and then you see production go through the roof, right? So another thing we can do is ensure equal access. So these collaboration tools, the meeting equity, we can help ensure that regardless of location, equal access can be granted across the organization. And then the technology that's purpose built for collaboration. There's some teams like D10 and Zoom that our purpose is to build the hardware and the software that increase that collaboration, that make it easy, and also increase that production. So we feel like we've created some very useful use cases, John, right, in the last couple of years, just by reacting to customers. We're really customer driven. We hear pain points and we go in and we tackle those pain points with solutions that eliminate them. So it's really exciting just to see where we've been in the last 2 years, from very basic type of use cases and features, and now we're just exploding with more advanced opportunities, better hardware options, right, to deliver use cases from home to the lobby to the conference room. So as we dive into those, I think you'll see that these 3 points, we can easily help you achieve success across the board. And really what that comes down to is giving hardware options, right? We all know that it's not just a conventional conference room that we're dealing with anymore. We're talking to not just IT and device guys, we're talking to facility managers that are redesigning workplaces, that are coming up with unique opportunities to access these devices in phone booths, in huddle rooms, in these smaller type of collaboration and flex spaces. And that's what's exciting for us, right, is seeing these new ways to roll out an office and incorporate that with a remote worker. So we'll talk about things like Workspace reservation today. We'll talk about things like advanced whiteboard, where all D10 products support the whiteboard touchscreen experience, where you can save all this stuff, recall it from home, bring it back up in the office, collaborate on these with teams remotely or in person. And it's really just a seamless experience when you're deploying the right stuff.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about the Zoom whiteboard. But first, I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. I certainly love the new Zoom whiteboard video. So let's just watch it really quick. I think it really helps us sum up what's happening with this very cool new feature.
An idea can start anywhere, but ideas become something bigger when collaboration happens. Zoom whiteboards allow you to collaborate in real time and continue the project after meeting with your colleagues. It's easy for people anywhere to contribute to the same project, like escalating a call to a Zoom room. Collaborate with innovative features that make it simple for hybrid teams to interact in new ways, like using your tablet in companion mode. The easy-to-share and easy-to-access persistent Zoom whiteboard means you can pick up right where you left off. Collaborate together in a Zoom Rooms for Touch. Add sticky notes, images, and annotations where needed. Or you can fully contribute to projects on Zoom Whiteboard, on your laptop, your mobile device, in different locations. The Zoom Rooms for Touch whiteboard works as an extension of your virtual canvas, allowing groups of people to work on the same project together. And because Zoom Whiteboard's infinite canvas is virtual, users will be able to interact through a range of devices. Walk into any Zoom room and share your content wirelessly. It's advanced collaboration using the same easy-to-use and reliable video technology you know and love. With Zoom Whiteboard, get more done together.
Awesome. So many cool new features coming out. John, you want to tell us a little bit more about what we're seeing with the new Zoom whiteboard?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, the whiteboarding as part of the Zoom experience has been around for many years, but it was very much limited to being an in-meeting tool. And it was a little bit hidden, if you didn't know where to look inside of a Zoom meeting to annotate or to open up a clean slate whiteboard to start, taking notes and stuff like that. It was definitely not in your face. It was not very user friendly. And then again, it was really limited to being an in-meeting tool. So we were getting a lot of feedback from customers that, they were looking at other visual collaboration tools that would allow for more persistent collaboration, both in and outside of meetings in a dispersed hybrid workforce. And so that's really where a couple of years ago, we started development on totally revamping the whiteboard experience. So it's almost not doing it justice to say that we added some features to what was already there. This was really a start from the ground up, total redesign of the experience. And so with that, it really has moved to more of a persistent collaboration tool. So anyone can contribute in real time, both in and outside of meetings or over the course of projects from any device. That's really where it becomes helpful. People can contribute from their mobile device, their tablet, their laptop, and then certainly they can bring these whiteboards to life when they're inside of physical spaces with D10 products and Zoom Room for Touch. So part of that, the canvas itself being infinite in nature. So as you start to brainstorm and build these whiteboards, you're not going to run out of space like a digital flip chart where you have to kind of flip the page and start over. You can continue to expand on these and make larger and larger canvases. The video talked about sticky notes. This is one of my favorite components of the new solution, because you can type notes in there. You can color coordinate according to project workflows. You can relocate stickies. In the next release, you'll be able to even react and vote on stickies. So if you're using this for project tools, that's going to get even better and better. And then you saw shapes and connectors. So as you're building out flow charts and diagrams and org charts and stuff like that, this becomes, a really useful tool. And it's not just for brainstorming and dropping notes during a meeting. This is, let's build out our project, plan for a, large scale Zoom Room in D10, product deployment, and start to build these out with the various shapes, connector tools and whatnot. Even dropping images in there. So I've been, playing around for a couple months as an early beta user on the whiteboard. It is now obviously generally available, but even just adding images into these canvases and again, making it super easy to share with your teams, both internal and external participants, for anyone to contribute across any device. So it's really, again, a total redesign from the ground up. A totally new product. The good news is that if you're a Zoom customer today and you have Zoom rooms and you have Zoom users, they are now empowered with this new functionality. So it's definitely a big improvement on where we were there.
Cool. And so I think one of the things that we've been working together, D10 and Zoom, very, very well on is this new D10 onboard. This is a product that we unveiled at Enterprise Connect. It's something we're going to have at the upcoming ISE show, and certainly InfoComm, you guys will be there. It's a great opportunity to get a firsthand experience with using it. It's super cool, super cool. And Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I think the onboard is another customer-driven release, right? Specifically by D10, and what we were hearing, was more about collaboration tools. So we know that there's rooms that are video enabled. You might have a component-based system. Maybe your company or your organization's not necessarily ready to kind of rip out all the hardware and replace it and kind of start over. Maybe you want to just optimize the experience by adding some key new pieces of technology. And I think that's where the onboard really steps up to the plate. So what we've done is built a purpose-built collaboration touchscreen product that will pair to any existing Zoom room. So as you get into what technology do I choose next? How can I make this experience even better? And that's where the onboard comes into play. So if you have a D10 device at home, like our Mi Pro, something on your desk, you can access these whiteboards even from a laptop. But when you return into the office, maybe those rooms are not touchscreen enabled. Maybe you have smaller type displays, or you're running independent cameras and microphones, and you don't necessarily need to video enable a space, but you do want this technology. You do want touchscreen whiteboarding, and the onboard is that product for you. So what we've done is we've taken one of our appliances and we beefed it up to really deliver this experience. So we have that 4K multi-touch display, 10 points of touch that you're used to with the D10 device. So you can do that whiteboarding, the annotation, and the collaboration aspect. We've also optimized it since we're not rendering video. We can support, fully support the graphic demands, the touchscreen demands, the writing demands of an advanced whiteboard. And that's where we've beefed up the components to really deliver that in an onboard. So you're getting something that is 100% new to help kind of lift your technology stack that you're deploying. And when you do this, you're also increasing the production and the intuitive aspect where your employees or the people in your org are using the same tools, right, across all devices. And that's where we have a lot of customers really excited about onboard. They want to have equal collaboration tools as they do those meeting tools. So it's lightweight, it's slim. You can roll it in on a cart and pair it in the cloud. You can install it, hang it in that room for that separated dual screen experience. So it's just been a really exciting addition to the ecosystem, John, and we've seen a great result, not just from customers, but from the industry. So we were awarded the Meeting Rooms Innovation Award at Enterprise Connect. So, just analysts, the customers, the industry in general is really embracing, and we've seen a lot of fans of the new onboard and what that can do for your facilities.
Yeah, I mean, the value of bringing to market something like this to coincide with the launch of our new advanced whiteboard opens up a whole host of opportunity there. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of Zoom rooms that are already in production that might not have been designed around touch, displays and whatnot, and the ability to easily add these into those existing spaces, and still leverage the cameras, microphones, speakers, and room solutions that are already in those rooms. But add this device in there. What you'll notice if we didn't call attention to this is that there is no camera, microphone array, speakers built into this particular device because it's not needed for companion experiences when you're adding this, into an existing room. So, obviously there's some cost savings with not building those parts into the system there. So it's a cost-effective way to add these capabilities into existing spaces. The other use case I like this for, and we'll talk a little bit about Workspace reservation later on here, is using this as an interactive touch kiosk to make reservations for desks and rooms and stuff like that. Again, a use case where you don't necessarily need a camera built into it or microphones and speakers. So it's just a nice product that fits a lot of very relevant use cases at this point in time, between D10 and Zoom.
Very cool. So let's jump into our next, what we're calling meeting hack. And this is how you can make sure that you're boosting meeting equity for all team members. When I say all, we're talking about in the office, hybrid, remote, making sure that everybody's included in your meetings. And, I think talking about meeting equity, right, we've got this quote from D10 and Zoom user, Paul Chapman. He's the SVP and CIO at Box. He said this really interesting quote. They said at Box, our transition focus with the shift to work from home is focused on making sure our employees feel supported. Everyone has experienced disruption and multiple stress factors. We knew if we focused on the well-being of our employees, the work would take care of itself. I think that's a really powerful statement coming from an SVP and CIO at a company as large as Box. And we're talking about equity. We're talking about making sure that your hybrid workers feel supported by your organization.
Yeah. And, something as simple as having technical difficulties, throughout the day can throw off your entire day, your entire experience. So, having that security and having, devices and technology that really is stress-free, I think is contributing, right, to just the overall appeal of using technology, right, to balance across any location. So, this is a great reaffirming, quote from, like you said, a really large company who went technology first, right? Who went solution first, because they knew if they nailed that, that the experience would be, exceptional. And with that comes the adoption, the usage, and I think, we are deploying the right hardware, software stack to make this really possible for any organization to match the level of success that we've seen at Box. So how are we going to do this, right? One thing we went to market together with John was the D10 Me, and originally that was the Zoom for Home D10 Me, where we strictly were recommending a device that would bring all of the high-end, what used to be expensive tools and technology that were in the office. Now you can have this on your desk at home, and we've really seen, us get ahead of hybrid work with a device like the D10 Me that includes your whiteboarding. It'll support advanced whiteboard. It has the high definition cameras in there, so you're seeing clearly. A digital microphone array that the Zoom background audio mixer is constantly optimizing first. So you're heard as well as possible. You're seen and you have access to those tools. So since the original D10 Me, we've been able to apply this to multiple use cases to help customers find successful transition, right? We have this in lobbies as a virtual receptionist. We'll see this now at hot desks for hoteling, where someone needs to sit down and have access to those tools and technology for a short amount of time, for an entire day. But the D10 Me Pro now allows you to pair that with your laptop. So you're bringing in your own identity. So you can either sign in to Zoom Rooms directly into the device, or you can bring a device with you to help drive that experience. But what it's really done is just, brought that sense of security and ease, and taken the stress out of going from different devices, right? I use this at home. I use this in the office. This phone booth has a phone in it. All these things do add to that stress. And I think they add friction to the experience. So something like the Me, we've seen placed anywhere from the home desk for the remote power user, all the way back to returning to office. And this has just been a really exceptional product that is another piece of that glue that binds this entire experience together for the customer.
Very cool. Let's watch a quick clip on the new D10 Me Pro. Very cool new product. I've got one on my desk. I use it all the time. I love it. So you hear it from me first. And of course, we can't talk about. Sorry.
It really
sorry.
does just kind of elevate, right, your entire experience from working
Yeah.
with home. And I think that's one of the best things is, you know, for the price point, they're super affordable. So you can either, you know, pick one of these up yourself. You know, you can talk to your organization about deploying these to their remote workers, but there's no barrier, right, with the price point on something like the D10 Me Pro. So we've seen tons of adoption, and it really does just make a more modern, cleaner, more exciting, you know, environment for you to really dig in at home and be productive.
Yeah, I just want to underline the price point there. I mean, I've been in the industry for about 17 years, and coming from, you know, previous organizations where there were devices that were built for personal use, but they were very much limited to, you know, executive use cases because of the price points, you know, personal devices that were in the $10,000 range. It's just, that was never, you know, meant to be scalable. The way this was designed is, you know, for simplicity. So anyone can use it, but at an affordable price that it is scalable, you know, for all the use cases we talked about, for work from home, for phone booths, for, you know, desks and hot desks in the office, and for kiosks. I mean, it really is great.
And as much time and cost to, you know, compile all the individual components, right? And to, you know, for an organization to sign off on all these different things as the recommended, you know, tech stack for their employees, you're spending more time by doing it that way. So, you know, the customers that have embraced the Me and the Me Pro and used those for deployments, you know, 60% of the work and the stress and the hassle is taken right off of their plate. And you can recommend confidently a single device to replace, you know, all of those individual components.
Manage it all from Zoom device management too. You know, that's the other thing is if you piecemeal it together with various monitors, webcams, and docking systems and whatnot, becomes a little bit of a nightmare to manage all those components. This is one device, manage updates and whatnot. So yeah, totally agree with you on that.
Cool. Let's talk about Zoom Smart Gallery. Super cool new feature that this is one of those things that when I talk to folks that have started to use Smart Gallery, they're like, I don't remember a time we didn't use Smart Gallery, because it became such a critical part of every single meeting that they have in their Zoom rooms. Such a cool feature.
Yeah. And you know what's strange is the view, the bird's eye view, right? That whole thing that was, you know, the standard pre-pandemic now feels awkward, right? And that's the best thing about Smart Gallery is it's such a familiar experience now that we've all been in gallery mode for the last 2 years. We're used to seeing, you know, the head and shoulders frame, and I can see you, and I can see your reactions and your expressions. And when you return back into a meeting where it's mixed with just this far, you know, long table and someone's tiny at the end, and it almost feels more awkward than it does natural. So I think that's one of the best things about Smart Gallery is it just feels incredibly natural that you can create a larger room, people sitting around a table, and bring them into the environment that feels much more comfortable now that we're used to that type of view within a meeting.
Yeah, and I look at it as really an evolution of, you know, innovation on the camera side in conference room technology. You know, it started off with manual pan tilt zoom cameras and camera presets, which, by the way, we still support. You know, some customers still like to deploy certain rooms with manual PTZ and setting up presets. And then, you know, speaker tracking and auto framing started to come to market, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, which was fantastic innovation, you know, at the time. But, you know, as Scott mentioned, everything changed, you know, obviously with the pandemic, where people really started to consume meetings in the Brady Bunch view, you know, what we call gallery view. And so it created a need to continue that same experience into conference rooms. And so just showing prominently the person that's doing all the speaking in that room and framing them or framing everyone into view was not enough, right? So getting up close and personal with the people in conference rooms and doing that from a single camera system that can, you know, frame multiple faces simultaneously and represent them up close and personal is delivering on that meeting equity that comes up in every conversation that I have, with CIOs in our enterprise, customers, facilities folks, workplace experience. I mean, it just really comes up time and time again, and it couldn't have come at a better time in the market. Right?
And not to mention that it's almost doing it on its own, right? You turn this on and you rely on Zoom and D10 to do the work, right? There's no one in the room selecting a preset button or moving that camera manually. It just completely takes that off your plate, where there's no production, right, left in that meeting experience. You're using the AI, you're using the software tools that were, built and designed for you to do this on your behalf. So you now have, a professional production person in that meeting with you that is identifying people in the room, who's speaking, it's switching for you, it's creating a much more elevated experience. And you literally just have to sit back and watch it happen. And I think that's one of the best parts about this as well.
Yeah, we kind of created our own monster because, for single camera systems like the D10, D7, for example, it can do smart gallery, but now starting to look at larger rooms or different use cases, classrooms, rooms that have a podium speaker. It was, how do we continue to maintain that? And so one of the other things we did was we started to support this concept of sending multiple streams from a single Zoom room to multi-camera rooms. For example, so I have, a D10, D7 here at home, and I have an additional, USB camera that I plug in there, and I can send both of those camera streams simultaneously from that single Zoom room, right? And so that scales. So you can have those multi-camera rooms that capture different areas of the room, or capture a podium speaker along with the audience. And I saw a great question from Rick that we'll touch on a little bit later around, how are we addressing larger rooms that have multiple screens and different camera placement and stuff like that. So the ability to, to supplement these systems with cameras that might be, might have a larger zoom, capability, or might need to capture a different part of the room that the primary camera on the D10 is not capturing. That is all, really, being covered by this multi-camera design, multi-device setup. Of course, when you add companion whiteboards, that's going to bring a whole different dynamic to it, to these rooms and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think that multi-camera experience on the D7 is the forward-looking use case that we're going to see continue to develop is, making these rooms as smart as possible. And right now it really is adding some more cameras to kind of get, the optimal angle of all the participants. But, what we're seeing with kind of roadmap in the industry and where we're going is to balance multiple mics, multiple cameras, multiple D7 units in a room to kind of reflect exactly what the user experience needs to be. And you'll kind of see, how we're blending the remote participants with the in-room participants. So everyone kind of feels like they are an equal participant, and we're getting that meeting equity, right, really nailed with this type of feature.
Awesome. So let's jump into our next poll, because we definitely want you guys to be involved in what we're talking about this morning. So the question now, and I'll go ahead and launch this poll. Has cross-platform compatibility complicated your plans for the new hybrid office? Of course, we're talking about, you have Zoom rooms, but you got hybrid team members that are used to Teams or Hangouts or WebEx, or you've got vendors and clients that are all using different platforms, right? So how much of a complication has this been for you? Is it a big concern? Is it somewhat of a concern, but it's easily solvable? Or is this something that's like never come up? Let's take a look at our results here. So yeah, big concern. Definitely at least somewhat of a concern for just about everybody. I think there's a lucky few of you guys that haven't really had to deal with this one. But yeah, this is a big issue, right? Coming out of the pandemic, I think a lot of us got used to our preferred platforms. Obviously, mine is Zoom, but I've got colleagues and friends that are diehard Teams fans, so that's cool. So let's, coming out of the pandemic, let's talk about our third meeting hack this morning, which is how to join any meeting on any platform. And the great news is that it's pretty easy to say goodbye to platform conflict. So John, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit more about how we can do that from Zoom Rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I would say is just interoperability is a personal passion of mine, just in the industry for a long time. And, and it's very much been in the Zoom DNA right from the start. It's, I look after our enterprise segment here for all things Zoom Rooms. And I've yet to come across, a customer that's in our enterprise segment that doesn't leverage multiple tools internally. You might have different parts of the business using, one platform versus the other. And every customer I talk to always has the need to connect to different platforms externally, right? They can't always control, where that meeting is being hosted from. If it's not, even being initiated from someone internally. So we've always approached Zoom Rooms with the ability to have that simple one-touch join experience that you get on Zoom meetings into all the other major meeting platforms that are out there. So WebEx and BlueJeans, et cetera, have been supported for many years now. We are also supporting the Microsoft Teams direct join experience now from the Zoom Rooms and from the D10 products like the D7. So you can very easily, get into Teams meetings. We also, have been getting increased requests and demand from customers that have been moving more toward the Google platform and are leveraging Google Meet for certain parts of their business. So that's another thing that we've, opened up our partnership with Google and are working on bidirectional interoperability support with them. And so what you'll see in the coming quarters or so, in the next quarter, hopefully a beta, and within the next couple of quarters, general availability on a Zoom room with the ability to directly join into a Google Meet as well. So as more meeting platforms come to market and are more prevalent, our intention is really to continue supporting the ability for a Zoom room to join any meeting at that point.
Yeah, something that we were showing Enterprise Connect a little bit too. We had a D7 there on the stand, and we had open invites from both Teams and a WebEx meeting. That was super cool to show how easy it is to tie all those platforms together.
Yeah, and easy to set up too. So, it is literally a toggle in the Zoom admin portal to enable third-party meeting join. You can turn that on either for org-wide or, at the device level or any layer of that hierarchy. When you turn that on, there's an additional, toggle to specifically turn on the Teams direct join experience. And that's it. We're not talking about the need to buy a third-party interoperability software or gateway system that sits between Zoom and these other platforms. This is all built in. There's no hidden licensing costs or additional complexity that you need to deploy. So simple for admins, certainly simple for user experience as well.
Very cool. So we have kind of a bonus hack in here too, because this feature simply is too cool not to talk about, and that's Workspace reservation. So when you're thinking about your new hybrid office space, showing up at the building, walking into the lobby, right? It doesn't make sense if we're all working only hybrid, only in the office a few days a week, to each have our own workspace 100% of the time. So it's easier than ever to walk into your lobby, reserve a work desk for the day or maybe for just an hour. And that's the new Workspace reservation feature of the Zoom Rooms feature, but we've worked very closely at D10 with Zoom to make sure this is available on D10 Pro, which is a very great solution for enabling this feature. And of course, in the background of this image, you can see the onboard. And John kind of briefly mentioned this earlier in the webinar, but the onboard makes a really great Workspace reservation map. So walking up to that map, finding an available resource, and basically reserving that space just for the day, for a meeting or for a couple of emails, whatever it might be. Here are the two real main solutions. Of course, with the D7 also is an excellent solution to be able to do this with kiosk mode. But the D10 Me, placing on a reception counter, like you can see in the image on the left, you can have a visitor simply walk up to that D10 Me, Click Workspace reservation and just pick a station for the day.
Yeah, this has been huge for Zoom and for our customers, something we've been working on for quite some time. We've always had some, really intuitive tools that are built into room reservations and whatnot that were tied to room scheduling displays. So you could upload a floor map and map out your conference rooms, walk up to a room scheduling display and either reserve that room or reserve a totally separate room. This completely expands on that concept and gives users the ability to identify and reserve not only conference rooms and collaboration spaces, but individual desks, for hot desks and hoteling, really across a multitude of experiences. So they can do it from the Zoom web portal. Now we've embedded that experience right into the Zoom desktop app. So they can do it right from the Zoom desktop client and make reservations right from there. Mobile will be coming shortly as well. And so you can go in there if you're planning to visit the office for a day or the week. You can search for available spaces. You can build up your reservations. If you forgot to reserve something in advance, of course, you can do it from a virtual kiosk right there in the building. You can also walk up and reserve right at the desks themselves. So if you see that one's available, you can make that reservation. The check-in experience has been super simplified. The ability to walk up and literally just scan a QR code, which checks you into that system, whether it's for an hour or for the day, and it personalizes that experience while you're doing your work there. So all your meetings show up, not just your Zoom meetings, but obviously other meeting platforms. Your contacts are synced. Your Zoom phone, gets ported over to that device. And it's just really, really simplified the experience. A lot of our customers are rethinking their workspaces with less dedicated desks, more open collaboration areas. And that means, touchdown spaces that people will be coming and going. And this is really, really helping our customers, ultimately deliver on that challenge.
Yeah. I don't think we've, delivered a demo on Workspace reservations where the customer didn't leave smiling, right? It's something that I think is unexpected to be available today. And the full end-to-end solution it's available now. This is something that you can deploy right away into any sort of environment as you return to office. And just the flow, I think the workflow from the map to the QR code, right, the Me Pro, I think that entire experience, right, no customer leaves without a smile on their face because it just kind of speaks for itself, right? And it's not one of those things where it's going to take a lot of training or a lot of repetition in an organization to get adoption. It just works right out of the box, and we're seeing customers gravitate to this. And whether you do have a real receptionist or a virtual receptionist in your lobby, we do have the tools, right, to help you manage that. So you can come in, talk to a real person, say hello, touch the map, grab your spot, grab your room from the lobby, or you can use a device that is video enabled and talk to a virtual receptionist if you need help. So all devices are available now to help you deploy these solutions. They're in Zoom rooms now. We've had customers using them for months, and the reaction has just been phenomenal.
Yeah, and we kicked off a public beta with this back right around the holidays. So this has been something that customers have been deploying, testing, and whatnot. Got a lot of really good early feedback around what else customers need here, and have already incorporated that into the solution. So for example, what do we need on the reporting and management and metric side of all of this for space and desk utilization, check-in rates, all of that has been incorporated into the product. We had a lot of customers say, or can we limit employees from booking spaces on certain floors and stuff like that, which is important if you have executive floors and you don't want people reserving those rooms and desks. So the concept of neighborhooding, has been built into the product. There's even a handy solution that's built in that Zoom will suggest, an appropriate desk based on your preferences. Or if I happen to be in the office and I've got a meeting with Scott later that day and he's already booked a desk, Zoom will recommend a desk nearby Scott because, you know, I'm a frequent collaborator of his and we have a meeting on the books there. That will get even more intuitive over time, you know, to the point where if we've got project team meetings, it will recommend, hey, here's a good day to go into the office. And by the way, there's going to be, looks like, you know, from this project team meeting that there's 4 or 5 of you, we're going to go ahead and book a room for you that's appropriately sized. So this will really grow and you'll see some really cool use cases and automation built into this.
Awesome. So let's recap the top 3 meeting hacks that we walked through today. So we talked a little bit about how to deploy technology that just works and why that's so important. We talked about meeting equity and how to boost meeting equity for all team members, remote, in the office, hybrid. And we talked about joining meetings on any platform, which it's way easier than I think we all realize. And actually, we had kind of somebody posted a comment in the chat directly to us, Jose Garcia, if he's still on the call, talking about how much trouble they had tying Skype for Business, Teams, BlueJeans, WebEx together, and then how much of a game changer it's been to be able to easily stitch those together. So that's super cool. Scott, John, are there any closing thoughts from you guys before we pop to our final slide here?
Yeah, I'm just getting caught up a little bit on the Q&A. There was a question around frame limit of Smart Gallery from Robert. And so we have a really handy, helpful article around getting started with Smart Gallery, which goes through, you know, hardware requirements. A big section of that is, you know, what resolutions are supported with Smart Gallery based on processors and stuff like that. So I will drop that into the Q&A response right now. It's just a really good article for you to take a look through to see what you can expect for, you know, when we're sending up to 3 streams simultaneously. You know, the primary stream will be 1080p. The 2 secondary streams, for the most part, will be 720p, etc. So I'll drop that in there.
Yeah, and for, you know, Naveen and Tim and Rick, you know, we're definitely standing by to kind of take this conversation to the next level. So we want to have a one-on-one conversation with you, find out your needs for the org, some of the ideas you have for returning, and that one-on-one consultation is really going to close all the gaps for you. So whether it's feature sets, whether it's security and networking, right, picking the right device, we're here to definitely help and would appreciate to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, and I think one more question from earlier that we you know, hadn't gotten to, you know, when the onboard's paired with you know, a D10, say for example a D7, are there options around viewing other participants when it's not being used as a whiteboard? Fantastic question. So the way that companion whiteboard is designed today is that by default that will replicate when there's a screen share happening. So if there's no whiteboarding happening and someone is screen sharing, that will be basically a secondary content screen that you can walk up and annotate on. And certainly as soon as anyone wants to whiteboard, that will be the, you know, primary location in the room that people will be handling their digital whiteboarding. That being said, one thing we're looking at right now is just enhancing layout options and, you know, especially as meetings have gone beyond just video and screen sharing to incorporate not just whiteboarding, but even things like in-meeting chat, you know, in reactions and stuff like that. So we're looking at better ways to optimize the way that we present meetings on multi-device systems in rooms right now. But for right now, just to set expectations, it's basically set up as a secondary content display by default that you can annotate on, or you can go up and initiate a whiteboard session so that you can't view participants on it today.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. And just a final call, you know, if you do scan that QR code, it'll take you to a very simple sign-up form, and we'll get in touch with you right away. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us this morning. Really appreciate your time, and stay tuned for the next webinar from D10 and Zoom.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Jackson. See you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks for having me, guys. Great to see you. Thank you for everyone that took time out of your day to join. So we'll see y'all soon.
All right. Thanks again.